Good morning and welcome. I don't know, I was about to say, I don't know what we've all done to the weather since the weekend. It's pretty miserable today, isn't it? But there we are. Right. First, apologies for absence. Nicola?
There's been no apologies today.
Thank you. All right, any declarations of interest? No. Hasn't one. Thank you. Right, the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on the 20th of June. Everyone got a copy of those? Anybody, any corrections? Everybody move? Everyone happy? Yes. Right, thank you. Right. Thank you. We'll confirm those. Right. Item 4, the Ombudsman's annual report and annual letter. Rob.
There we are. Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Yes. As clues in the title here, this is the annual report and annual letter of the Ombudsman. Indeed, the 10th annual report prepared by the Ombudsman. I think this is now the 4th Ombudsman since 2005. So, as I say in the report, an extremely detailed report. And I must admit, I think it's a very useful document personally, in that it's useful to see comparisons with other principal councils in Wales, and indeed also comparisons then between the town and community councils. Useful, I think, also from the point of view of a learning exercise. Members will note that the amount of complaints against public authorities has actually gone down, with the exception of the NHS. So that's I think that's a good sign for councils that our numbers of complaints are going down. Turning to the Code of Conduct complaints, again, there has been a pattern of year on year, the number of complaints about alleged breaches of the Code of Conduct by members has gone down, but there is an exception with community councils, where you will see that complaints against members of community councils is increased by 49%. Now, these figures are sort of relatively low when you add up all the amounts of community councillors and town councillors in Wales, but it's still a major increase, and something that I think the Ombudsman causes the Ombudsman a bit of a headache. It's not helped for the Ombudsman by the fact that most town and community councils don't have an internal, a local code to try to resolve what I will term minor member-on-member complaints. And the reasons for that are, are quite apparent. Most town and community councils don't operate a group system. So, for example, and it's on the agenda actually, we'll be looking at our protocol for self-regulation of member conduct a bit later on. The way that this council has set up that protocol is very much based on the group system. Now, as I say, town and community councils, they don't tend to operate group systems. So in fairness to those organisations, it is more difficult for them to come up with local codes. But as I say, I think this does cause the Ombudsman a bit of a headache, and I think he would prefer to direct his resources at, for example, complaints that are made by the public, complaints where things have gone drastically wrong. For example, tragically in the NHS, the Ombudsman's produced some reports over the last 12 months about what's happened in various health authorities across Wales. And that's where my view is, and I think probably it's the public's view, that's where the Ombudsman should be looking at looking at directing his resources. As I say, a very, very detailed report. Quite interesting, the breakdown, the analysis of the Code of Conduct complaints. I've put that in the report there. 41% tends to be about promotion of equality and respect, and then 16% about complaints concerning members' integrity, and then 14% about disclosure and registration of interests. Again, that's, I think, a typical analysis that's been repeated throughout the 10 years that the Ombudsman's regime here in Wales has been in force. Turning then to the Ombudsman's annual letter, again, I've attached that to the report. Every year the Ombudsman gives us this letter, and really this letter is a breakdown of the particular complaints, so complaints made by members of the public, and furthermore Code of Conduct allegations, specifically in respect of Monmouthshire. And you will see that we are very much we're under the local authority average. Indeed, no, I thought that was right actually. If you have a look on the annual letter on page 2, it says, in total my office received 27 complaints against Monmouthshire County Council, and that indeed is the local authority average, is bang on for 27. So 27 complaints. It gives there a breakdown of what those complaints are. So the ones that stand out are Children's Social Services of 6 against the local authority average of 5. Planning and Building Control is 12 against local authority average of 9. So we're a little bit higher on that one. What we are lower on, and noticeably lower, environment and environmental health, where the local authority average is 4, and we only have had 1 complaint. So numbers are average there. I would suggest those are sort of a relatively low. What I've added on the report as well is the Ombudsman produces a casebook of, if you like, more relevant, serious complaints that he looks into, and I've attached that at Appendix 3 to your report. That looks at a report that he investigated, and indeed he found that the council was in breach of maladministration, and made a time and trouble complaint to the complainant, and further made some recommendations as to how the council can learn from this exercise. So certainly, Chairman. Yeah.
Sorry, Rob, it's probably me, so I would like an explanation if you can. It says in under A, Monmouthshire County Council had 27 complaints compared to a local authority average of 27.
Yeah.
And yet in the table, it's got a local authority average of 40.
Yeah. I don't know what the explanation is for that, Chairman. Actually, I don't know whether those figures they've just been added up incorrectly for the average. No, I don't think they have. So yeah, so I don't. Yeah, yes, that is rather strange, isn't it? No, sorry.
I would suspect, because this is obviously a cut and paste exercise in relation to all local authorities across Wales, that in fact where it says compared to a local authority average of 27, I think they've just cut and pasted the 27 against Monmouthshire into that space. Yeah. It's quite a coincidence. If the figures don't tie up, it's a coincidence that figure is the same as ones actually against Monmouthshire, which puts Monmouthshire in an even better position, of course, against the average.
It does, yeah, it does.
Chair, presumably the monitoring officer would have had dealings directly with the Ombudsman, so the monitoring officer himself will know how many complaints have come through.
Yeah, that's a good question. The figures that I retain tend to be a little bit lower than the 27 figure here. And the reason for that is the Ombudsman does not get in touch with me on every complaint made against the council, because some of these complaints don't get past first base, if you like. So the Ombudsman will only come to me if he feels that I should be aware of it. So my actual figure is a little under that, actually. We've got a report that our complaints manager has prepared on the next item, and you will see the number of complaints there, I think, are much higher than those that have gone to the Ombudsman. So those figures don't necessarily tally with what I've got and what the Ombudsman logs. But as I say, I think the reason for that is that the complaints that I get contacted about tend to be where he needs more information, maybe in the single point of contact. Yeah, certainly. Okay. So looking at the code of conduct complaints, then, Chairman, during the and I did actually raise this with the Ombudsman. During the year, the Ombudsman closed 6 complaints regarding county councillor members of alleged breaches of the code of conduct. Now, I had a lower figure of that, and I specifically asked the Ombudsman about that, and it is, the report looks at the complaints that he's closed during that year. My figures are the new complaints that I receive via the Ombudsman for the year. So I did query that, and the Ombudsman clarified to me, thankfully, that we are talking here about closed complaints. And members will see there that in 4 of the cases, the Ombudsman decided not to investigate. 1, there was no evidence of a breach, and while in the remaining case, it was deemed that no action was necessary. And again, I've copied on to my report at Appendix 4 from the Ombudsman's casebook, a summary of his investigations into that particular member. And if I could summarise on that, I think the Ombudsman found that there was, if you like, a technical breach, but that no further action was necessary. And in fairness to the member on that case, the member did act on my advice. So if the Ombudsman was, found fault there, I think that I was not partially to blame, but in fairness to the member, that member was acting on my advice as well. That was concerning a planning matter, and a long-running planning matter at that, where one of the people affected by the planning application wanted to meet the local member. And I thought, yes, why not do it? I was going to be at that meeting as well as the head of planning. Let's do it. In that, frankly, if the meeting was declined, I thought that would lead to a complaint from the disgruntled member of the public. So I thought, right, let's have the meeting. We had the meeting, and then when the planning application came before planning committee, because of intervening events, the member decided that he or she, because I'll be anonymous about this, couldn't take part in the planning committee because the member of the public had made complaints about the member, and so the member felt that she couldn't take part, he or she couldn't take part in it, and therefore sat out the planning committee that looked at that particular application. So, as I say, thankfully, if the Ombudsman found that there was a technical breach, but deemed no further action was necessary. And that is, Chairman, the first report today. Obviously, information within that annual letter and annual report very relevant to the dealings of this particular committee. I'm quite happy to take any questions that either you or fellow members have regarding this report.
Thank you, Rob. All right, any questions of Rob? No. Everyone perfectly happy. Councillor Jordan, was that a no or a yes?
Well, it's a bit of a grunt, really. It seems to me that, to some extent, we're on a hiding to nothing because everybody's encouraged to make complaints these days, not just to the council, to various other organisations. The vast majority, thankfully, the vast majority of the complaints that are made don't actually find any weight or favour by the Ombudsman. It's only those that the Ombudsman upholds that we really need to be looking at carefully to see how they're to be avoided and why they came about in the first instance. I really don't have much more to say about that. But I think on the face of it, we actually do quite well.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for that comment. Yes, I agree. Monmouthshire has always, in the whole time I've been on this committee, been very low down the list of complaints, and very few ones that reach the point, as you say, one need serious investigating. Yes, I think county councillors in Monmouthshire, you congratulating for obeying the code of conduct as rigorously as they seem to do. Excellent.
If I can just add, Chair, with your consent, with certainly planning issues and other matters that are of particular concern to some members of the public, the opportunity to make a complaint to the Ombudsman is something that disgruntled members of the public can use to beat us with. I think we just got to accept that people or members of the public will, when tensions are high, do things that are sometimes to us appear to be illogical, but we just got to face the music.
Certainly, Chairman, yeah. The system in Wales is that where a member of the public believes that an elected member has breached the code of conduct, that member of the public must go to the Ombudsman and make the complaint. That's the system that is operated in Wales. And as you can see from the figures, and indeed not just this council, but for councils across Wales, in the vast majority of cases, the Ombudsman doesn't investigate those complaints. They don't go past first base. But that is the system that we have, that we operate in Wales. If you like, it's a more centralised system. And in contrast now to what's happened in England, where for the last, I think, 2012, the change came. The English equivalent of the Adjudication Panel for Wales was abolished, and each council has to, if you like, police itself. Now that's created problems for English councils, and thankfully, and I will say this, I think that our system in Wales is a better system, and indeed I think counterparts in England take that view also. in that we have a public services ombudsman that, if you like, can give councils a steer and a consistent steer about what behaviour is acceptable. And you know, in fairness to this ombudsman, he regularly gives information about, you know, where we need to be careful. So I think it's a good system that we have in Wales compared to what's happening across the border.
Well, that's always good to hear. I think it also says a lot for both the current and the past monitoring officer, who've obviously been asked for advice on loads of occasions that we never get to hear about, and obviously giving the right advice out, and also making sure that the training for county councillors, town councillors and community councillors is in fact carried out properly. I think that shows in the you know, the low number of complaints that we get.
Yeah, that's thank you, Chairman. In fairness to members, you know, I've been here now 13 years. Members will always ask for advice, which is a real bonus for you know, for Murray before me and now me. It's a bit cliche. It's good to talk. Where members have an issue, it's good to hear about it, and we can talk it through and hopefully resolve the situation before it becomes a more serious issue. And certainly, we don't want complaints being made to the ombudsman. So in fairness to the members, we've always had a good relationship between the monitoring officer and the members, where advice is actively sought. On the training front, members, just for information, I'm doing some training with Caldecott Town Council later in the month. I think they've got a couple of new members, and so they've asked for some training. So I'll be doing that. I think the week after next, which is again, it's a good thing. It's good for the members, the town councillors in this case, to meet and discuss issues that they have. And I think, in fairness, they quite enjoy it as well. So, which is always a bonus.
Yes, of course. Right, any more questions for Rob? For comments? Trevor?
Yeah, it's just really, I noted on page 17 of the Ombudsman's report about the amendment to the regulations on Local Government Standards Committee investigation, dispensations and referral. And it talks there about a standard committee being able to refer a particular issue to another standards committee. I just wonder, has there been any, there's obviously been a demand for this in order to make the amendment, but it's not something we've come across. I just wondered if there's any cases of that you could recall.
I must admit, Trevor, I'm not aware of any certainly within the Greater Gwent area. And in fact, that hasn't happened in Greater Gwent. I can say that. I don't know across. That's quite a good question, actually. I personally like to know the answer to that myself. I wonder how many councils that have felt the need to do that, where there is a potential conflict, and therefore asked another standards committee to hear the matter. I don't think that's been used often, but I'm meeting other monitoring officers on Friday, I think, this week. Yes, it is. So that I'll actually find out that. That's a good question. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Trevor. Irene?
Yeah, it's just following up on when you said about community councils needing training by the sound of it, because as far as complaints go, we tend to sort of be slightly blinkered, especially where we are as a small little council and we're all very happily working together. But in view of the fact that community councils might not be aware of their responsibilities, are there any sort of general training you're doing with Caldecott, that people could send for members to just be educated and then feed back to the council.
The way that I've tended to operate is that the clerks will contact me, and it tends to come around when they have a tranche of new members joining the council. They'll contact me, and then I'll carry out some training with them on the code. Next year, of course, there'll be elections. There'll be county council elections, and indeed town and community council elections. So next year, I'll be doing some more general training with members, and specifically looking at those new members that are coming into the local government system, if you like. So next year, I'll be carrying out a number of training sessions where I will invite town and community councillors, from all over the county to attend an event. So that's how we try to get the message out. I've got email addresses of all the clerks. I'm familiar actually with quite a number of the clerks, in fairness. And when new information is released by the Ombudsman, or I come across something that I find that I think they would find of interest, again I share that information with them. So hopefully there isn't a deficit in knowledge, but it is it is important. Of course, we had the Mega case earlier in the year that went to the adjudication panel for Wales. So by definition, obviously the Ombudsman felt that was a serious potential breach, and there, that member got it wrong, frankly. And again, I've done some training with that council, so hopefully it isn't repeated.
Thank you.
Our numbers of complaints are low, which is a good thing. There are community councils particularly in Pembrokeshire, which they have numerous complaints, and there's obviously some sort of local issue there that's going on. And again, the figures are in that annual report. There is a table which looks at complaints in respect of individual town and community councils, and they tend to be community councils actually. And there is a sort of a bit of a hotspot, if I can term that, down in Pembrokeshire. Right, and that will then sort of skew the figures for the Ombudsman, because the numbers are relatively low.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for that. Any more comments, questions? Right, we'll move on.
Okay, so as I say, Jim, that's just an information report, and for members to take note of it. Okay.
Right, thank you, Rob. There's nothing more you wanted to say on 4 then?
No, thank you.
Right, item 5, Whole Authority Annual Complaints Report.
Yeah.
You again, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chairman. This now is we've had the Ombudsman's annual report, annual letter. This is a report that is prepared each year by the Customer Relations Manager, a lady called Annette Evans. And this looks at complaints, comments, and indeed compliments that the council's received during the year. The timescales for this report are slightly different from what the Ombudsman uses. The Ombudsman uses the administrative year, if you like. That's how he logs his information. But Annette uses a slightly different timescale, and therefore the figures will be are slightly different. Again, a wealth of information in here, and so, for example, helpfully on page 1 of the report, Annette gives a comparison of complaints, comments and compliments in a bar chart there. and members will see that the, well, pleasingly in fairness, complaints have gone down in 2013 from 144 to 107 in this year, whereas our compliments have rocketed indeed from 34 to 109. And it may be that we are getting better, if you like, at logging information, and indeed that is probably the case, that that we are, you know, those numbers of compliments have gone up. Members will be aware that we have an internal complaints process here, and the internal complaints process works in this way, where, let's for example, let's say a complaint was made against the planning department. The stage one, the informal resolution bit, is where the council will ask a planning officer to deal with the complaint, and hopefully the complaint can be resolved and the complainant is happy. But if that isn't the case, it then goes on to a stage two, a formal investigation. And what happens there is where an officer from a different department, in my example from outside planning, will look at the investigation, will look at the complaint, investigate it, and again, hopefully, resolve the complaint. And that's important for the Ombudsman, because the Ombudsman will ensure that the complainant has gone to the council and asked the council to resolve the complaint before he looks at it. Again, it's a way, quite sensibly, I think, for the Ombudsman to, if you like, keep control of the numbers of complaints that he's receiving. So the council must use its internal complaints process to start with, and that's backed up, thankfully, by the Ombudsman. There are, in the report, then it gives a breakdown of the types of complaints and gives some detail about what different complaints we have against highways, development control, council tax, etc., etc. And the report shows the sort of areas where complaints are received. And again, I don't think, frankly, there are many surprises in there. What this report doesn't show, and this is important, is that there is a separate system for social services complaints. But the numbers are given. So 43 complaints were received, 82 comments and 139 compliments for social services. But that is a different system. And the system that's used there is that an independent person from outside the council must investigate any complaint against social services. So that's quite actually a resource-hungry procedure or process that the council has to go through. But that's what the legislation says, so we have to do it. So a slightly different system for social services complaints. Also in the report, it gives it gives a breakdown of where the complaints were received, and then the specific departments within each section. The report also shows, I think I did have this, the numbers of Freedom of Information Act requests that we get, and that's towards the end of the report. And again, those figures are pretty striking about how many FOI requests that the council receives. So I think, yes, I've got the figure here now. In 2015-16, we received 1,061 requests, of which, that's pretty impressive, 1,057 were closed, 98%. And then it shows the breakdown for the requests. So the Chief Executive's Department received the bulk of those requests for information held within the Chief Executive's Department. So that's quite interesting. The present government is thinking about widening the scope of freedom of information as well. So that'll be interesting to see how other areas potentially respond to that. But again, lots of useful information in there, I think. Yeah, that was a figure, Chairman, that I thought was on freedom of information, which really does see how, if you like, the industry has mushroomed. In 2005, 2006, we had 135 FOI requests. That figure has now mushroomed to well over 1,000. So, as I say, it's a real growing industry, and indeed, central government receives many requests. So, once again, Chairman, lots of useful information, I think. If members have any questions, I'll of course do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, it is a useful information report. I found it enjoyable reading of it.
Yes, it is, yes.
Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. Are we able to give any estimate as to the cost to this council of responding to FOI requests?
I'm not sure whether that piece of work has been done, Councillor Jordan. I don't know about that. I would imagine that figure could be quite high. There is an exception in the Freedom of Information Act where I might have got this wrong, but I think I'm right. I think that if an FOI request takes over, I think 20 hours of officer time, you can refuse it on that basis. But that gives a clue as to the extent of the trawl that one has to go through to get this information. I would imagine the figure is very high, Councillor Jordan. And then if you sort of replicated that across councils in Wales, the figures will be quite high. I guess the proponents of freedom of information will say, well, that's the price you pay for democracy, that's the price you pay for transparency. And of course, those are sort of laudable arguments and aims, aren't they? But I'm not sure a piece of work has been done on that within the council. There may be information there that other councils have done. I've not had a look, but again, perhaps I will sort of do a bit of research on that myself.
Well, it's not actually that we can do a lot about it, is there?
Indeed, no. It's it's what the legislation says. We have to, as I say, this really is an industry now, if I can term it that way. I'm not being unkind in any way. There is an information commissioner based in England, and indeed we've got an information commissioner in Wales. So again, if members of the public are not happy with the response that we give, perhaps feel that there is further information that we're withholding, that person can go to the Information Commissioner, and the Information Commissioner will determine whether or not we're right to withhold some information. And again, the Information Commissioner's website is an extremely useful website. There's lots and lots of information and useful guidance on there that I must confess I look at frequently when Freedom of Information Act requests come in to the council. We do employ a Freedom of Information officer, a chap called Mike Trigg, and as you can see from this report, frankly, or the tail end of the report, he's a very busy chap.
Thank you, Rob.
Chair, do we know what the split is between, on FOIs, between the general public and what I call the press? Are the press dominant in this? Is it in the...
I'm not sure whether it's in there. It is it?
On page 13.
page 104, 105.
Well, it's 1, 2, third
No,
page from the end,
well-
if that helps you there, on this press.
103 page back.
I haven't got them paginated that way.
Yeah, 17%.
Plus 2% local press.
Yeah, campaign of 15.
Ah, yes, yeah. Yeah, so that's less than actually than I would have
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I would have thought it'd been much higher, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Of course, the way the Act is set up as well. The way the Act is set up, and quite right, you can't ask as an organisation why you want this information. If a member of the public asks the information, we must provide the information unless we can give an exception as to why we shouldn't provide the information. So why the information is requested is irrelevant, and we need to provide that information.
Another one. I want to go back to complaints. On my ward, I received a letter one day from a ward member complaining bitterly about the highway division. They weren't cooperating with them over a certain matter. They got to the point where they were threatening to go to take legal action, etc. I immediately contacted ourselves, and they said they would deal with the matter. And when I asked some weeks later for what was the outcome, did it go satisfactorily? Because obviously, having had the complaint from a ward member, I would like to have responded to the ward member at some time, say, I understand it's all been resolved. I could never get an answer. They, in some respects, I always felt that they were refusing because it was confidential information. But then I am the member that they could claim to, and I don't see that, however confidential it is, that the member should not know. And you know, if one does the thing properly, one would respond in a normal way, just saying, "I understand it's all been settled, you know, to your satisfaction." But I never heard. It's about 18 months ago now, so. And certainly the person who wrote that report was involved in that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be very interested to know why she never wrote back to me to say that the
Yeah.
thing's
Yeah.
done.
Well, there's two options here for you, Councillor Edwards. I can, you know, I could ask if you give me details of the complaint, or or you can go direct to the officer and ask. I don't quite understand, but again, there could be very good reason for it, where the confidentiality argument comes in, because if one of your electorate has come to you and said, look, Councillor Edwards, can you please help me with this issue? This issue is X, Y, Z. Then obviously that member of the public must be happy for you to have that information, and therefore there isn't a confidentiality issue. So I don't quite understand what that one is, but again, if I can help in any way to get that information for you, I'll as I say, we can discuss that afterwards.
Thank you for that, Rob. Any more comments, questions? Everybody happy? Good. Thank you, Rob.
Always a good sign, Chairman. The last report now is our protocol for self-regulation, and as I've alluded to earlier on in our discussions today, the Ombudsman carries great weight as to ensuring that councils in Wales, principal councils, that's county councils and county borough councils, have these internal protocols in place in order to resolve what I will term sort of minor member-on-member complaints that arise from time to time. This protocol's been in place since 2013, and it's very much set up around the sort of group system. So, you know, we have groups in the county council, and the group leaders are central to resolving these issues. But frankly, Chairman, as the report suggests, the numbers of queries that I've had about this protocol and the use of it are very, very few. And indeed, I think there's been only one meeting between respective group leaders and the members under this protocol. I wasn't required to be involved in that, and my understanding is that the matter was resolved. So we've had very few, a very low take-up, if you like, under the protocol since its inception. But again, that's I think that's a good thing. Members are aware that it's there, and if there are issues that they can't resolve between themselves, well, the process in a nutshell is involve the group leaders and it gets resolved that way. And the Ombudsman, as I say, is very, very keen on this because frankly, he doesn't want to spend his resources dealing with these pretty low-level member complaints. There is a role for the Standards Committee members within this protocol, you will note. But again, we've had no formal involvement since 2013 and since its inception. I've brought this report to members because I think it's useful from time to time that members are aware of the protocol, and furthermore, the use that is being made of it. But I would stress to members that even though there is a low usage, it's important and that we as a council have such a protocol in place for just in case that there are issues where low-level member complaints arise. So just for information, but as I say, what certainly the Ombudsman sees as an important protocol. Again, Chairman, I'm very happy to take any queries that members have about the report or indeed about the protocol which is attached to the report.
Thank you for that, Rob, and it is useful to see it there and to have it all in one place, and because it's there, it does make these low-level issues much easier to handle. I personally find it a very useful document to have. Any questions from anybody? Trevor?
It's just one question. There's a heavy dependence upon the group leader. What if it involves the group leader?
I think if the matter involved the group leader, that may then give an indication that complaint should actually be referred to the Ombudsman. Yeah, under the code of conduct, allegations of breaches of the code must be reported to me. If you remember, under the old code, it used to have to be reported to me and the Ombudsman. That's gone now, but it should be reported to me. And when it is reported to me, it may be, and hopefully will be, frankly, that there is input from me that I can give that would resolve the issue if it's felt that the issue is of a low level nature. But there is a possibility for more serious breaches. Not a possibility; it must happen. For more serious breaches, those breaches still need to go to the Ombudsman for investigation. But it's a good point you make, Trevor. Hasn't happened thus far, but who knows what will happen in the future.
Thank you for that, Rob. Yes, we shall see. Any more questions or comments of Rob? Everybody happy then with that report? Thank you for that, Rob. Excuse me. Very useful. Thank you. Right. Back to the agenda. Oh, sorry, I switched myself off. Back to the agenda. Nothing else you want to say about that? That's it then. Right.
If I could just say a couple of more things, if you like, as under any other business, if I may, please. I've got some training with Caldecott Town Council the week after next, as I say. I'm meeting the monitoring officers in Llandrindod and Wells. We have this quarterly meet. That's on Friday. And then furthermore, and sadly actually, I think it's the end of November, our next meeting, 28th of November, I think. That indeed, Chairman, will be your last meeting. It won't. Oh, right. Oh, is it? I'm actually. I'm glad I've said that then. Right. Right. So, well, very sadly, then this is your last meeting. And on the back of that now, in the next few weeks, I'll be advertising for vacancies on the Standards Committee, because, if you like, our tranche of new members that came in 2011, we need to replace, we certainly need to replace you, Chairman, because you've done a further term also. I think Trevor has expressed a wish that he would like to continue. And also then we have Gareth Powell. I don't know what the situation is there. So as I say, I'll find out that. But I think the likelihood is we will have 2 vacancies to fill on our Standards Committee. So during the autumn, I'll advertise for members or prospective new members. We get together a panel then that includes, well, certainly includes the group leaders here. And I think the Lord Lieutenant comes as well, if I remember rightly. High Sheriff, is it? Sorry, yeah, High Sheriff. And then they'll make recommendations to Council, and then Council will appoint our new members to Standards Committee. So so we'll have in effect then a new or some new members on our Standards Committee for our March meeting. But I'm very glad now that I said that I thought it was the November meeting was your last. And can I just say thank you very much for your help and assistance over the years since I've been here at this council. And frankly, you will be a big loss to this Standards Committee. But sadly, that's, I can't do anything about that. That's what the legislation says. And in some ways, there is perhaps merit in that new people join our Standards Committee from time to time. But can I say, what great assistance you've been. Always available, always there to discuss issues that I have, which is very, very important. And I can speak for Murray before me in that vein also. So thank you very much. And yeah, it's been great. And whoever succeeds you as chairman will have a very good and strong Standards Committee to take over. So thank you very much, Penny. Thank you.
Can I have another? Penny's been on the committee when I first started. I can completely concur with all your remarks. And she's been a great and a lovely person to me to know. Thank you. Thank you, Penny.
Well, thank you all very much. Actually, it's been, I can't remember how long I've been on the committee, but it's, as you say, it's as much as I can do, and it's been a great committee, and I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting all of you, and the support from Murray and Rob has been fantastic. But it's been a very easy committee in membership. I'm sure it's a much harder job in some other committees, so it's been no, no, it's all the way everybody behaves. It's what counts. We really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it, and I shall miss it and everybody here. Thank you very much. There we are. So then, I intend to. It's Christmas this year, so we shall.
Rob, a question to Rob. Can they not reapply?
No, Penny's done.
Well, thank you for that, David. Yes, what was I going to say? I think new blood is fresh blood, fresh enthusiasm, good new ideas. I think it's important, and I've done a fairly long time, and it's in safe hands with Trevor. And as you said, it's a strong committee, and I think we all work well together. There's no conflicts, nothing like that. I think it works very well. And I wish you all the best of luck for the future, particularly Trevor. Thank you.
There hasn't been, but again, I will make a note of that now as regard, because I'll see the other Gwent monitoring officers, and we'll sort something out, because that's what it was about, was meeting our fellow Standards Committee members within the Greater Gwent area. So I will check that, and we'll pull a meeting together next year. I think personally that will be a good thing, and if we could do that maybe on an annual basis or biannually, it would be very useful. As I say, it's a bit like the conference that we have. It's nice to meet other members of standards committees across Wales to share experiences, I think, because often we have similar problems, similar issues to deal with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't know anybody was on this committee then, but certainly years ago it did happen. Rob will remember, but it did happen. I can't remember how often. Twice a year, was it? Once a year? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. But yes, from the 5 authorities did meet up. And it was very useful, and I really can't remember why it stopped. But there we are. If we can resurrect it, I think it is useful. And on that note, I shall close the meeting.